The spiritual law that activates faith. The fourth dimension by Yonggi Cho. I must begin by sharing something that might sound illogical to you. God does not grant answers to many sincere prayers. This does not happen because he lacks the will, nor does it happen because he lacks the power. It happens because a prayer without incubation is merely spiritual noise. Perhaps you offer your petitions, perhaps you believe, perhaps you fast, and yet, everything remains stagnant. Have you ever questioned why? Have you felt that the heavens turned silent exactly when you most desperately needed a response? I have been in that place. It was precisely there that God revealed to me the spiritual law that governs faith, the principle that distinguishes those who merely believe from those who actually live out a miracle. If you walk away before the end, you will miss the key that explains the entire process. When silence begins, almost everyone interprets it the same way, as abandonment. I used to interpret it that way too. We pray, we cry, we persist, we do everything right, yet the days pass without any visible sign of change. This is the point where the faith of most people dies, not because God failed, but because the human heart was not prepared to handle the invisible. Silence hurts because it confronts our need for control. Have you noticed how we often feel better when at least something bad is happening, rather than when nothing happens at all? This is because the void forces us to trust. And true trust is deeply uncomfortable. I have learned that silence is not the absence of God. It is evidence that something profound is being generated. Nothing that is born strong begins by making a noise. Consider a seed. If you look at the earth every day and see nothing, it does not mean the seed has died. On the contrary, it is exactly there, in the dark, in the hidden place where no one applauds, that the most important process takes place. Faith operates in the same way. When you see nothing, when no one notices anything, when even you begin to doubt, that is the most critical stage of spiritual incubation. Many people ask me, why doesn't God give at least one sign? I respond with another question. Would you continue to trust if you didn't have to? A faith that depends on signs is not faith, it is a transaction. Silence reveals what is truly inside you. It exposes your deepest fears. The fear of wasting time, the fear of having believed in vain, the fear of appearing naive, the fear of disappointing yourself. Who hasn't thought, what if this is all just in my head? Most people think it, they just don't admit it. I have seen people give up exactly at the point where they were closest to the birth of their miracle. They mistook silence for a delay, when in truth it was an alignment. There is a time when God works in you before he works for you. And that time is almost always silent. Today, even science recognizes something similar. Internal, emotional, and mental processes occur long before any external change becomes visible. The human body, for instance, begins to heal long before medical exams show improvement. But a person often only believes when they see the report. Spiritually, we do the same. We want the report before the healing. Silence also tests your motivation. Do you continue to believe because you love God, or only because you expect something from him? This is an uncomfortable but necessary question. During incubation, many people continue to pray, but they have already begun to prepare themselves emotionally for failure, just so they won't be disappointed. This looks like maturity, but it is often just fear in disguise. True faith sustains hope even when everything suggests the opposite. This is not natural, it is spiritual. Perhaps you are living through exactly this right now. Nothing is happening externally, but inside you there is a constant discomfort, as if something is being pressed, adjusted, and matured. You feel you can no longer go back to being who you were before, but you also don't yet see who you will become. This place is uncomfortable, I know. It is a lonely place. People around you start to question. Some advise you to be more realistic. Others tell you to give up and move on. And you begin to wonder if it wouldn't indeed be easier to stop waiting. But this is precisely where incubation proves its value. Because those who learn to remain in the silence develop a faith that does not depend on circumstances. They learn to rest without understanding everything. They learn to trust without visible guarantees. They learn not to interpret every delay as a rejection. Silence teaches something that noise never teaches: dependency. If you can cross the stage without giving up, something changes inside you before it changes outside. Anxiety begins to lose its grip. Despair diminishes. The need for approval disappears. And, without realizing it, you are no longer asking for a sign to continue, you are continuing even without a sign. This is the point where faith stops being an effort and becomes an internal state. The silence did not come to destroy you, it came to form you. It is not a no from God, it is a not yet. And those who understand this stop fighting against time and begin to walk with it. When you accept the silence without abandoning your faith, something powerful happens. You mature enough to sustain what you asked for. because receiving something before the right time can also be a form of loss. If today everything seems at a standstill, do not reach any conclusions yet. What looks empty may be full of invisible movement. What looks like a delay may be protection. And what looks like silence may be God working in a way that you will only understand later. There is something I had to learn by breaking my own expectations. God does not respond to occasional wishes. He responds to what dominates the heart. Many people say they want change, but what they truly want is immediate relief. They want to escape the pain, not necessarily enter a process. And faith cannot be sustained where the desire is shallow. It requires depth, intensity, and permanence. I realized this by observing my own life. There were things I prayed for but abandoned easily when the first obstacle arose. Others, however, remained alive within me even when everything seemed impossible. The difference was not in the difficulty but in the desire. True desire does not negotiate with time. It remains even when there is no visible reward. It continues even when no one else believes. Today, looking at people, I see the same pattern repeat. How many start something full of enthusiasm and give up in a few weeks? How many say they want to change their lives but change nothing in their routine? How many claim they trust God but lose hope when the answer doesn't come at the expected pace? This is not a lack of faith, it is a lack of burning desire. Faith feeds on desire. When desire cools, faith dies of starvation. Even science confirms something that has always been spiritual. The human brain only sustains prolonged effort when there is a strong emotional purpose. Without this, the body seeks shortcuts, surrenders, and justifications. Spiritually, the principle is the same. Burning desire keeps faith alive during incubation. It prevents you from abandoning the process halfway. It makes you continue when logic says to stop. Many deceive themselves by thinking that desiring something intensely is selfishness. But there is a great difference between a carnal whim and a desire aligned with purpose. The burning desire that moves faith is not a caprice, it is a conviction. It is when something becomes so clear and so necessary within you that ceasing to seek it hurts more than continuing to wait. This type of desire is not born from nothing. It grows when you understand the value of what you are asking for. I have seen extremely talented people waste years because they never desired anything deeply. They lived reacting to circumstances, not creating a future. They expected God to do everything, while they themselves were not emotionally committed to anything. God does not force anyone to desire. He responds to the intensity with which someone gives themselves to the process. Perhaps you are tired because you are trying to sustain faith only with discipline, rather than with desire. Discipline helps, but it does not replace the inner fire. When desire is true, you don't need to force yourself to continue. You continue because stopping is no longer an option. And that is exactly where incubation stops being a burden and starts being a path. Ask yourself with honesty, is what you want strong enough to cross through the waiting? If the answer is no, perhaps the problem is not time, but the level of your desire. Faith is not tested when everything is going well. It is revealed when desire remains alive even in the silence. There was a moment when I understood something that completely changed the way I lived out my faith. What you speak during incubation is just as important as what you believe. Many people say they believe, but their words contradict that belief every day. They pray with faith and minutes later, confess defeat in a common conversation, in a stray thought, or in a phrase uttered almost without noticing. And they do not understand why nothing manifests. I also had to learn this in practice. There were days when I felt no faith at all. No emotion, no enthusiasm, no certainty. But even so, I decided to align my words with what I believed, not with what I felt. This was uncomfortable. It even felt like hypocrisy to me at first. But I discovered that faith is not pretending the problem doesn't exist. It is choosing which reality you will feed. Words do not serve to convince God. They serve to adjust you. What you repeatedly declare begins to mold your thoughts, your emotions, and over time your decisions. Today, even psychology recognizes the power of internal and external language in building identity and behavior. People who constantly repeat negative discourses tend to reinforce patterns of failure and surrender. Spiritually, this has always been obvious. The mouth reveals what governs the heart. Many say, I am just being realistic. But realism without hope is not wisdom, it is resignation. There is a great difference between recognizing a difficulty and submitting to it with words. When you confess defeat, even thinking you are being sincere, you interrupt the process of incubation. It is like opening the oven before the time and complaining that the bread did not rise. Faith needs an adequate environment to develop, and words are part of that environment. I learned to watch what I said, especially in moments of fatigue when the urge to complain was greatest. Not because complaining was a sin, but because I understood that every word had a direction. Either it strengthened the promise or it strengthened the fear. And most of the time, people do not lose their faith in great crises, but in small, daily confessions of defeat that accumulate silently. Perhaps you have already lived this. You start the day confident, but a conversation, a piece of news, or a comment from someone close is enough to make you change your internal discourse. Suddenly, what seemed possible begins to sound distant. Not because God changed, but because your confession changed. What you constantly speak ends up becoming the limit of what you expect. When you decide to align your words with the promise, even without feeling anything, something begins to change inside. Anxiety decreases. The mind organizes itself. Faith stops depending on emotion and becomes a conscious choice. This does not mean denying reality, but declaring that reality is not definitive. If you want to protect what is being incubated, take care of what comes out of your mouth. Because what you declare today may be generating or destroying what you hope to live tomorrow. If there is something you need to guard above all else, it is this. Faith does not fail for lack of power, it fails when the process is interrupted. Silence, clarity, burning desire, and the words you release are not isolated steps. They are parts of the same spiritual law that continues to operate even when you don't realize it. Nothing generated in the invisible dimension is born by chance. Everything follows a principle. And when you understand this principle, you stop fighting against time and begin to walk with it. Perhaps today you do not see external changes, but if something has already been adjusted inside you, then the most important part has already begun. Every wait is refining you. Every silence is preparing you. Every choice to remain is making you someone more conscious, stronger, and more aligned with what you were called to live. Your faith is worth more than $18,500, for spiritual wisdom is priceless. As written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is now 6:15 in the evening, a perfect time for such reflection. Now continue. Do not stop here. The next video appearing on your screen is not just a continuation. It is another step in your evolution of wisdom, one more move toward becoming 1% better than you are right now. I will be waiting for you there. Thank you for walking with me this far.